Okay, I wanted to do today's video on, I'm sure everybody's heard some politician or some reporter here in the U.S. say that 90% of all the guns going to Mexico are coming from the U.S. Well, I found out some information on how they had come up with this 90%. It seems that between 2007 and 2008, that 11,000 guns were submitted to the ATF to be tracked and traced and see where they come from. Of those guns, only about 6,000 were actually able to be traced. Of those 6,000, they found 5,114 to come from the U.S. Okay, that's where they got the 90% of. But in those same 2 years, there was 29,000 guns that were actually recovered from crime scenes by the Mexican government. So out of that we're right at 30,000 guns. Only 5,000 of them were to be determined from the U.S. And it doesn't list how they were brought over from the U.S., whether they were bought, whether they were stolen, whether what ways they got them. They just said that they come from the U.S. Well, I wanted to give you a few little facts on the what's going on in Mexico. Okay, it seems that both the Russian and Israeli mafias have been selling guns to the drug cartels, or exchanging them for guns or exchanging the guns for drugs to be sold in their home countries. You've also had FARC, which, if nobody knows, that FARC, that is the Revolutionary Armed Force of Colombia, and they are basically a rebel group that works out of Colombia that have been fighting the government for several years, and basically the fun what they do, and really they've become a whole drug cartel. They really don't act as a rebel group anymore. They're more into just selling drugs and doing kidnappings and whatever they can to make a buck. And they've been selling guns to these drug cartels in Mexico, and even exchanging the guns for drugs and things of this sort. And a lot of this information has been found out by Interpol, Amnesty International, and our own intelligence networks. People like CIA, NSA, stuff like that. This is our own government figuring out this stuff. You've also had, in the past 6 years, 150,000 trained Mexican soldiers that have deserted their post and taken their weapons with them. So that's 150,000 men that have gone into the army, trained up, and the cartels come in and say, hey, we'll pay you better, come with us, bring your guns with you. Now, if nobody knows, the southernmost neighbor of Mexico is Guatemala. Guatemala's border with Mexico is wide open. And there's a huge amount, just like we have illegal aliens that flood into our country, there's illegal aliens that are constantly flooding into Mexico, heading for our country, and that's where their guns come from. There's tons of stuff still left over from the wars of in the 80s and 90s. They're in central Mexico that are flooding into Mexico. A lot of these, like I said, the Russian mob, the Israeli mob, a lot of outside influences that can bring in just boatloads of weapons to Guatemala, and people are finding out that that's where it's coming from. Just here, the Mexican government has seized 2,239 grenades over the last 2 years. These grenades, it turns out, they're being made in South Korea. Now, where are they getting rocket-fired? They're getting rocket-fired grenades from Russia and hand grenades from South Korea, but all this stuff is coming from the U.S. I'm a major gun buyer. I've bought a lot of guns. I know a lot of places to get guns. I know a lot about guns. I have no idea where to get a RPG or a hand grenade here in the U.S. And there's another little thing that the old Mexican officials can't get straight. Torrio Surcan, I believe I pronounced that right, is the Mexican ambassador to the U.S. He says that Mexico seizes 2,000 guns a day from the United States, that come from the United States. which is a total about 730,000 a year. Well, Mexico's Attorney General office says that they've only seized 29,000 guns in all of 2007 and 2008. That's a huge discrepancy right there, if you ask me. And they still won't make a comment on the 152,000 soldiers that just left and took the rifles with them. But all the guns come from the U.S. Well, I believe that's about it. If you want more information, I was able to pull this off Fox News. I'm not sure if it'll still be up. I got it yesterday. Maybe you can find it, maybe not. But leave comments in the bottom if you want to, and y'all have a good day.